Hi, welcome everyone. Today, my name is Dietrich Truges, and I am the cheese doctor. Welcome to my show, Ask the Cheese Doctor. This is our program number 8. So the idea is for people that want to learn how to make cheese, but they don't speak Spanish because Spanish is my native language and it's my mother tongue. I just created this program in English for all the people that want to learn from me how to make cheese. So the idea, if you speak English, this version will be good for you, and you will be able to learn how to make cheese with all the knowledge that I will give you. And that's the idea. And not only South American cheeses, you can learn how to make any type of cheese. So the idea is, this is the idea. So to give thanks members, okay? In the category support is apoyo in Spanish. It's Alberto Verduzco, Jose Martinez, Diane Q, Alfredo Vigas. 4 members that I wanted to thank them. Okay. I want to tell you also something. I have developed a coach, and I'm still and I started. There's going to be 7 modules if you want to learn how to make cheese. There's going to be 7 modules. These modules are going to be videos. Each module is going to have a lot of videos, and I already started recording the module 1. So if you want to learn how to make cheese, you can go to this program. I haven't decided how much it's going to cost anyway, but the idea is that if you subscribe to this program, you're going to belong to a community of cheesemakers or of a community of people that wants to make cheese, and I will be supporting you guys. And if you have any problems, and the idea is to be part of the community. Once you are part of the community, and you have a problem making cheese, we will support you. I will give you information. I mean, you're going to have to study because there's going to be 7 modules. And once you finish your module, you're going to have the capacity or the ability to make any type of cheese. You're going to learn what I learned. So in the New Zealand Cheese School, you will be able to make fresh cheeses, ripened cheeses, blue vein, pasta filata cheeses, Swiss cheeses, any type of cheeses. Because this model is a little bit deeper from the knowledge that I give in the other programs. Is the knowledge that I learned in the New Zealand Cheese School. Also, if you want to support my channel, I have developed. Go to my channel, and you will see the membership program. If you want to be part of the membership program and join us, or if you want to buy a shirt that I made it myself, they're very cool. I'm just waiting for mine. I already bought mine, and it's not for me. It's just to support the channel. So if you want to support it or support us, you're more than welcome. The idea is that with these resources, I'm going to be able to make more videos and teach you more, giving you more content regarding to the cheese making art, which is a very passion ability. It's a very passion art. It's a very passion job. Making cheese is a lot of fun, and you don't have a same day. Every day is different. So that's the thing of making cheese. Today we're going to speak about lipolysis. Lipolysis, and it's a process into the cheese making where you develop flavor. Okay. Proteolysis is when you develop texture, but in this case we're going to speak about lipolysis, which is a process when you change the flavor of the cheese. And that's the idea. No? If you learn how to change the flavor of the cheese through because you understand the lipolysis process, you will be able to have cheeses that are going to have a personal touch. So it's a very short class, about 20 minutes. And then if you want to ask some questions, you're more than welcome here. That's what I'm here for. If you are from, I have had people from Nigeria, from France, Germany. So if you want to make your question, if you want to ask your question, you're more than welcome. I have questions also from the community that have asked me, and I will answer here. But you're more than welcome to do your own. Okay. So I don't want to stop you guys. I know that all of us have a lot to do. As I said, this class is only in English. I just want to thank Diane Q that just became new member 1 hour ago. So welcome to the community, to my channel. And the idea is, I hope you learn from me a lot. And let's start with the class. Wait. As I said, we're going to, let me see if we have people here. Okay. No, I don't have any questions. Okay, no problem. So let's go with the class. Okay. Okie dokie. So as I said, we're going to speak about lipolysis. Today is my program number 8. Lipolysis, as you might know, was we have in milk, we have several components. We have sugar, which is the lactose. We have proteins. We have minerals, but we also have fat. When we make cheese, we have to break down this fat so we can develop flavor into our cheeses. Okay. So what is lipolysis? Lipolysis is the fat breakdown, okay, or the breakdown of the fat. Lipo is fat. Lysis is I written it wrong. The Y is in the second one. Is here. Okay, it's lie with this A, and lysis is with this Y. So forgive me for the mistake. But anyway, lysis is breakdown. Lipo is fat. So we have to achieve that the fat gets denatured so we can improve the flavor in the cheese. As a suggestion, you have to associate lipolysis with flavor in cheese. As long as you ripen your cheese, as long as you mature it, the flavor of the cheese will change within a time frame. Okay, the longer you leave the cheese, ripen it or aging it, the better the flavor will be. That's the reason why Parmesan Reggiano have to be ripened for minimum 18 months so he can develop the flavor that we all know about the Parmigiano Reggiano. Of course, this lipolysis depends on the content of humidity into the cheese. If the curd is if the curd have a high percentage of humidity or moisture, then this process is faster. The drier the cheese, the slower the lipolysis, and also the processes that are related to it. Proteolysis is going to be slower. Lipolysis is going to be slower. Okay. As I said, lipolysis is the fat breakdown into the cheese. Okay, I'm going to explain you something about the milk first, okay? As you know, milk is a white liquid. And have you asked why the milk is white? Because the answer to that question is that the milk, when it gets exposed to the light, the refraction of the light give this color to the milk. It's because of the refraction of the light. If you watch through the microscope, the milk 10 times closer, okay? you're gonna see under the microscope yellow spots. These yellow spots are fat. Okay? And this fat is what will change the flavor of the cheese. If you will watch it 10 times closer, you're gonna see the big balls of we call it globules. Okay, these globules floating in the milk. Okay, but the fat is inside this globule. What makes the fat that doesn't get spread into the milk? Each globule is covered by an epithelia. Okay, it's like a membrane, small membrane. This membrane, as long as this membrane is not broken, the the fat will not be released. Therefore, the flavor of the cheese will not change. So what do we have to do? As cheesemaker, we have to break this membrane, but we have to break it in a way that doesn't affect the quality of the cheese. Okay? These fat globules have inside several types of fat. Most of the fat is saturated, okay? And these are the percentage, more or less, 65%. This is an average. About 32% of this fat is monounsaturated, and 3% is polyunsaturated, okay? So, as I said, if this membrane is not broken, the cheese will develop a mild flavor. It won't develop much flavor. Now, this membrane has 3 small layers. If we watch this globule under the microscope, okay, we're gonna see this image. And this epithelia has 3 layers, okay? And into the layer, into the globule, we have the triglyceride. Is the fat, okay? This is the triglyceride core. So, as cheesemaker, we have to break down this membrane. How do we do that? We can break it in several ways. For example, if we pump the milk too much, we will break this part of these globules and the fat will be released into the milk. Also, if we stir too strong, or if we homogenize the milk, this membrane will be broken, and therefore the fat will be spread. And this is when the problems occur. If we stir too much, if we pump the milk too much, these membranes will be released, the fat will be exposed, and will be victim of attack by enzymes, etc. This membrane, or these 3 layers of the membrane have inside protein, sugars, and also lipids, which is fat as well. So, but in general, we use enzymes to break down this membrane. What enzyme is this one? We call it lipase. Lipase is a membrane. Lipase is an enzyme that breaks down the fat, and we use it as a cheesemaker. We can find lipase naturally into the milk, and this is the next screen. Okay, naturally into the milk. Okay. Yes, we find it naturally into the milk. It comes from pork, lamb, or calf, and also we can add it microbiologically. So, I don't want to go so deep. Maybe this screen is a little bit complex for you, but let me tell you that it's more complex than what it is. So, let's go again with the membrane. as you know, this is the fat globule, okay? So it's covered by this membrane. When we apply enzymes, let me go to the, yes. Oh, there is one missing. There is one missing. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay. This fat globule, as I said, it has three membranes. When we apply the enzymes, which is lipase, this enzyme, inside this triglyceride core, we have something that is called fatty acid. Okay, these fatty acids are inside this core. Okay, but all these fatty acids are joined by the molecule of glycerol. This glycerol here. The idea is to break down through lipase, through the use of lipase, we break down this molecule, and then the fatty acid will be released, and this is when flavor occurs. If we don't break down this molecule of glycerol, the curd or the cheese will not develop any flavor. So us as cheesemaker, we have to break down this glycerol molecule to get flavor in the cheese and to improve the aroma. And that's the reason why we have to use lipase. Okay? It's much more complex than that, as I tell you. Okay? And when the glycerol molecule gets broken down, all these fatty acids are released, and these fatty acids they will be released in different lengths. Each fatty acid have carbon molecules inside, but depending on the number of carbon molecules, you will have different fatty acids. Okay, we can have short chains, middle length chain, and long chain. Depending on the size of the fatty acid, you will have a different flavor, and we can have thousands of flavors with this. When we break down the fatty acid, okay. So let me explain you the short. When we have the short chains, okay, these short chains. This is the most common one, and this is called butyric acid. And this is when this butyric acid is one type of fatty acid that you can find in cheese making. And this fatty acid will give you a rancid flavor. Another chain, which could be a longer one, I don't remember the number of molecules of carbon, and you don't have to learn it anyway. And will give you a caproic. It's called caproic acid, which will give you a goaty flavor. Okay. So you don't have to learn all this acid. You don't have to learn all these names. The thing is that what you need to learn is that you can find different lengths of fatty acid, which will give you different type of flavors into the cheese. The most common ones are the butyric acid, okay, which is the shorted, the caproic acid, the lauric acid. Anyway, you don't have to learn them all, okay? So you can also get soapy flavors, okay, in cheeses, for example, like Romano, okay. As I said, goaty flavors will give you with you can get it from the goat milk. As I said, all milk have fatty acid. Buffalo milk, yak milk, sheep milk, cow's milk, all of them have lipase. And because they have lipase, this lipase will break down the fatty acids inside the fat globules and will develop flavor. Okay? And you, as cheesemaker, have to know how to do that. Okay? The idea is that because by learning the lipolysis process, you can know what is happening into the cheese. If you don't know that lipolysis exists, you won't be able to get your cheese accordingly to the maturation process. Sometimes when we ripen cheese, when we age them, bitter flavors develop. They show up, and the idea is, but they disappear during this process. So by understanding lipolysis, you can know that, okay, if you try your cheese, if we put an example, I'm going to ripen my cheese for 10 months, okay? But at 10 months, I try my cheeses and I still feel the bitter flavor, which means that lipolysis has been has been slower than it should be. So I have to allow the cheese to more time so this bitterness can disappear during the process. So, and this is why we have to try the cheese during this process. How do we do that? We use like like a small pin with a hole inside, and we make a hole into the cheese, take a sample, taste it, and get the texture, and you will realize that if your cheese is bitter or not, if the mold have grown inside, and then you can tune the maturation process. And this is where the art is. If you know how to do this, how to mature your cheese during the long process of maturation, which is maybe years or months, depending on the type of cheese, you will be able to get a very good product with good quality, and this product will have your personal touch, and you will make a difference in cheese making. Okay. That's the one. I forgot. As I said, we have to control lipolysis. We have to use an enzyme called lipase. This lipase comes from calf, lamb, and pork, and you can also have it microbiologically. Okay. When the lipase is breaking down the fat, it produces alcohol, esters, acids, also acids. Ketones is a type of alcohol. Okay. So, and all these elements will improve flavor and aroma. You have to associate, or you have to relate, flavor with lipolysis and change of texture with proteolysis. Okay, but today we're talking about only lipolysis. And as I said, it's very important that you break down these fat molecules into fatty acids, which are these fatty acids are inside this triglyceride core and joined by this molecule of glycerol. So when we use the lipase, we break down this molecule and the fatty acids get released. And we call this, when they get released, they call them free fatty acid. Okay, and this will and this liberation will improve flavor and aroma along the process. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to give you this half an hour small class. Next week, we're going to speak about wash core cheeses. For example, Edam cheese, Gouda, all Swiss cheeses are wash core cheeses. And when I refer to wash core cheeses, is that during the process, we take part of the whey and put fresh water. The idea of this process is to reduce the rate of acidity or the rate of acidification, to reduce it, and the cheese will develop a fruity flavor. Okay, like for example, Edam and Gouda, and sometimes a sweet flavor. And the idea is that you guys learn how to make this type of cheeses. I'm going to explain the technique and how is the process, pH, and all the stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start giving this class next week, and I hope you'll learn it. Okay. The 4th of July, I'm going to give a webinar It's going to be a live webinar all around the world. If you want, this is South American cheese. It's called Palmisulia. This Palmisulia cheese is cheese that has a lot of hold, and it's very famous in my country, and it's very popular. If you are an English speaker, doesn't matter, because if you register into the webinar, I'm going to have simultaneous translation. Okay, so you can learn. I use a platform called Streamer, and as long as I speak, you will be able to read what I'm speaking. Okay, and like captions in YouTube, same process, and you will be able to understand, and you will be able also to learn. So if you want to learn how to make this cheese, which is very good, the issue is that they have a lot of hold, and we created a technique along with a cheesemaker that is in the United States called Ronald Maldonado. He's a cheesemaker from Venezuela, and I spoke with him, and we developed a way to make this cheese using pasteurized milk. When we make cheese, due to this is a fresh cheese, according to the world standards, we have to make fresh cheeses using pasteurized milk. We are not allowed to use raw milk, because raw milk has to be used for mature cheeses, for aged cheeses, and they have to be consumed 2 months after manufacturing. But with this cheese, we're gonna make it using pasteurized milk, which is allowed for the world standards of cheese making. And I'm gonna teach, but we have to follow some several protocols. We have to harvest bacteria. I'm gonna teach you how to do it, and we're gonna tell you what type of bacteria that you have to use, and we'll teach you how to harvest and how to cultivate these bacteria. The webinar, as I said, will be the 4th of July, and it's gonna last 3 hours. And in this time, we're gonna teach you also how to make buttermilk cream and butter. So if you want to attend, in my Instagram bio, there is the link, so you can attend. It's gonna be, as I said, it's gonna be in Spanish, but if you're an English speaker and want to learn, we're gonna have simultaneous translation. Okay, and if you want to cooperate to help the channel to make and get a souvenir from us, you can have this T-shirt that I designed myself. I'm not a designer, but I mean, I just I give my best. The idea is that you guys, sometimes when I speak, I say some sayings. For example, I say that life without cheese is like a love without a kiss, and I put it in my shirts. I also put it in glasses, and these coolers and stuff, and purses. So I also have these messages, which are Kiwi slangs. So if you want to support our channel, and this is a way to support our channel. It's not for me; it's just for the channel. I don't make much money with this. And let's go with the Q&A. Okay. Let me finish here. And we're gonna stop sharing the screen. And let's go with them. Let me go with with a question. Let me go if I have questions here. I have some comments here from the people for Spanish speakers. Okay, let me go. Okay, I have some questions here. Okie dokie. Okay. There's one question from, I don't know the name. I made feta with cow milk and it came out well, but as it sits in the brine, it feels slimy. Please advise what to do. This is very common. when you are making feta. Feta is a cheese from Greece. Okay, it's very salty and crumbly. The secret for making feta is that you have to make the cheese crumbly. You have to make the curd crumbly. How do you achieve that? You have to reach, we call it the isoelectric point of the casein, which means that you have to let the lactic acid to acidify the curd until there is no more calcium into the curd. When there is no more calcium into the curd, it's at pH 4.6. And because there is no calcium, the curd will become crumbly. Okay, that's the secret. If you don't allow the curd to lose all the calcium, your cheese will not become crumbly, and therefore and might get a little bit slimy. Also, when you have the cheese becomes slimy as well because the curd have too much moisture. So you have to allow the moisture to be released from the curd. How do you achieve that? You have to allow a process called syneresis. Syneresis is a process where the curd expels the whey and have to become dry. And how do you achieve that? We have to steer after cutting, we have to steer the curd, and you have to achieve the right texture of the feta, which is a very dry curd. So you have to steer, let's say, each 5 minutes. You have to steer for 1 minute and allow the cheese to increase the acidity until you reach pH 4.6. If you control texture and acidity, you will have your feta. Of course, you have to press it and follow the recipe. You have to press it, but if your cheese or if your curd doesn't get the right texture, and even if you get the right acidity, your cheese will become slimy. But if you get the right texture, which is you have to get compact curd, and dry, you will get a very good feta. You have to do you get this right texture by experience. I mean, I can tell you how much time because it will depend on the way that you steer the curd. But what you need to know is that by steering the curd, it will speed up syneresis, and but it will give you the experience will give you that. If you put your cheese in brine, and of course after it's pressed, and you notice that your cheese is getting slimy, you have to stir more to allow the cheese to expel away, so to get a dry curd. Another way to help the syneresis is to, maybe you are cutting the curd too big, so you have to cut the curd about 10 mils or 12 mils, so you can get 10 or 12 mil cubes. In this way, I reckon you're gonna have a good, you're gonna have a dry and not slimy feta. Okay, Manal, welcome to the show. I was wondering where were you. Okay, let me go with another question. Abimbola Teru, she's from Nigeria. I can make cream cheese at home, but I want to scale it up for commercial sales to bakers. Can I get help for large-scale recipe and procedures? Handcraft, non-processed cream cheese. Look, Abimbola, look, making cheese in an artisan way is one thing, and making and scale it is another thing. However, the recipe is the same. We just need to put more milk, more culture. You will need a bigger vat. Okay, but the most important thing that you have to control when you scale business is that you have to, first of all, you have to create. If you're going to do it as a business, and you want to do it legally, you have to create a food control plan, because your product need to be safe for the consumer. You have to control items, for example, acidity. You have to make a record. You have to control temperature in your storage. Each batch has to have a record. You have to all the goods that you buy need to be registered into the system. You have to have a pest control. You have to have lab tests that support that your product is safe for a consumer. So you have to create a system, and to create a system, you have to you have to use a food control plan. In your country, go to your authorities, to the food authorities, and they should have a food control plan how to make cheese. If not, let me know, and maybe I could give you a hand giving you tips that you can control. But in theory, this is what you need to control. You need to control also the quality of the water that you use, how you package your cream cheese, because you're telling me that you're gonna produce cream cheese. You have to control all these issues, okay? And you have to have record of everything. In this way, if you have a problem with your product, for example, if your product get polluted for any reason, or contaminated for any reason, you know which batch it is. You have to create batch numbers, and each batch number have to have the amount of lactobacteria that you use, the lot, and the expiry date of the milk that you use. Anyway, you have to control all the steps of the process, and you have to have a register on all of it. In this way, and this is the most important part, and you also have to have sanitizing protocols. For example, if you're going to handle your product, you have to sanitize your hands first, and you have to do it all the time the same way. For example, what I do is I have a small cheese factory. I'm not scaling, and even though I'm doing it in my house, I do it. I mean, I prepare 10, 20 kilos of cheese, and I follow these protocols. And for example, if I go like this, my hands are already contaminated. So before I handle anything, I just put my hands into the chlorine solution and sanitize my hands, and then this is when I touch something. Before I use any spoon, any mold, anything, I first sanitize everything before I use it. And what I always do is I have 2 containers of chlorine solution, one with chlorine solution at 200 parts per million, the other one with soap, and I have everything soaked over there. In a way that if I need something, I just take it out from the water and use it, and then put it back again. Each time I measure my temperature, my thermometer is always soaked in the chlorine solution before I use it. I use it. If I measure the temperature, I put it back in the chlorine solution. In this way, you will be able to control the sanitizing problems, which is the most important one, is even more important than making cheese. And to scale it is simply producing more amount. What you have to do is have mold, You have to have an environment, a big room, which have to be sanitized. Okay, before you enter your room, you have to clean your feet, wash your hands, and these protocols are part of the system that you will need to implement when you start making cheese. This is the most important part. Okay. Okay, Manal, there is a question from Manal. In the last show, you say, can wait, I can't read it very well. In the last show, you said, can we add 40 milliliters of calcium chloride to 8 liters of milk? When we added calcium without diluent with non-chlorinated water, is right? Yes. Use non-chlorinated water because the chlorine in the water will affect your culture. So try to use non-chlorinated water. How do you get non-chlorinated water? Instead of using distilled water, just boil some water with your coffee maker or your tea maker. Boil the water, let it rest until it gets cool, and use this water to make the calcium chloride. How do you achieve? Remember, the concentration of the calcium chloride has to be at 30%. How do you achieve that? Just remember, you have to prepare 100 milliliters. So the way to prepare 100 milliliters of calcium chloride at 30% solution is you have to weigh 30 grams of calcium chloride, 99% food graded, 99% concentration. Okay, you weigh 30 grams of calcium chloride, food graded, and with a concentration of 99.9%. So it has to be pure without impurities. Okay, 0.01 impurity is all right, but if you have 20% impurity in your calcium chloride, you can't use it. Okay, so your calcium chloride has to be food graded, 99.9 purity. So weigh 30 grams of calcium chloride, put it in a container that you can read the milliliters, and pour water until you get 100 mils. With I explain again. Put the container, put the calcium inside, 30 grams, okay? And then pour water until you reach 100 mils. Once you reach 100 mils, stir, boom, 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 until it gets fully dissolved, and you will achieve a calcium chloride 30% solution, 30% concentration. Okay, this is the way to make it, and make sure you use non-chlorinated water. If you're using 40 milliliters per 8 liters of milk, okay, your cheese is gonna taste bitter because you're putting too much calcium chloride. However, if you're using homogenized milk, go ahead, use this amount. Your cheese will be bitter, but mask this bitterness with salt. So put 2 or 3% of salt into your cheese, and you will mask this bitterness. Okay? Okay, let me go with another question. Can I use mesophilic culture to make buttermilk? Yes, you can. Any recipe or advice will be appreciated. Okay. I'm going to give you a quick one. Mesophilic, right? Or thermophilic? Let me see. Yeah, mesophilic. A very quick recipe to make buttermilk. Put the milk pasteurized milk and put the mesophilic culture. You have to ripen the culture. So heat the milk at 20, 25 degrees Celsius. Put the bacteria, let it hydrate for 5 minutes, stir, and let it ripen until it coagulates the milk. And you're gonna get, and then stir, and you're gonna get your buttermilk. Okay. Another way, if you want to make it with more flavor, I prepare something called buttermilk cream, which is very good. How do I do it? I use, instead of using milk, I use cream, thick cream. I put the bacteria. For example, I use yogurt. I can use yogurt, and I'll leave it for this. I dissolve the yogurt into the cream, and let it ripen, exposed to the elements. Of course, cover it so the flies and stuff doesn't fall into the cream. Leave it for 3 or 4 days. Because it's in the exposed to the elements, it will get acidified. After 3 or 4 days, shake it until you and check at the beginning. You will listen the noise of shaking, but it will, meanwhile you're shaking, it will become thicker. Once you don't listen that it's shaking, it's ready, and you're gonna have buttermilk cream, very good. And what you have to do is now after that, put salt, and done. Buttermilk cream, very beautiful, and with a lot of flavor. Okay. Another question: anyone have a recipe to follow for ricotta? Out of way. Anyone have a recipe to follow for ricotta, for making ricotta out of whey? Well, to make ricotta from whey is very easy. And let me tell you, when we make cheese, you will always break the fat globus. It is impossible not to break them down. So, and your whey will become a little bit white. This is the signal that you have fat into your whey. If your whey is green, there is a small amount of fat, and you won't get a lot of yield in your ricotta. Anyway, however, if you're gonna make ricotta from whey, you just need to boil it until you reach 85 degrees, and all the fat into the whey will pop up. If you want to increase your yield, before boiling the water, before heating the water at 85, put milk into the whey. Okay, maybe 1 liter of milk. You can use any type of milk. Okay, you can even use UHT milk, ultra pasteurized, doesn't matter. Of course, if you use pasteurized, not homogenized milk, your ricotta is going to be much better. It's going to be more silky. It's going to be more flavor. But you can use homogenized milk, doesn't matter. So put it there, raise the temperature at 85 degrees. And when you reach 85 degrees, put a little bit of vinegar, and the curd will pop up. And you will have your ricotta. This is a good recipe. And this recipe will give you a ricotta which is going to be very smooth, very silky. You can use it for cheesecakes. You can use it for spreadable creams. Anyway, you can use it for whatever you want. Okay. Okay, let me see. Manal, I use calcium solution, not grainy. Well, I know that's good, Manal, but I'm teaching you how to prepare this solution. If you find liquid calcium chloride is all right, but what people do is what I'm telling you. They prepare it themselves and sell it. So if you want to save a little bit of money, find the calcium chloride in powder, dissolve it, and you're gonna have a lot. I always use calcium chloride in powder, and I make my solution, and I make the solution myself. I don't buy calcium chloride in liquid because it's more expensive. Okay? And if you want to buy calcium chloride in solution, go to my website, drquesero.com, and I can send you calcium chloride. I have here heaps in my house, but if you want to save a little bit of money, and I hope you want, you can buy calcium chloride in powder and prepare it yourself. You can make much more amount of calcium chloride. Okay? Can you tell me the pH of Colby cheese? I don't know the pH of Colby cheese, but I will tell you next week. Let me write it down. Wait, I reckon I have my book here. I reckon I have it. Let me see if I can. I reckon I saw it yesterday. The pH for several types of cheeses. Here it is. Let me see. Yeah, Colby have between typical pH between 5.3 and 4, and salt approximately 1.7%. Make it 2%. This is the pH of the Colby. This is finished product. So you have to weigh off at a higher pH. If it is 5.3, you have to 5.3, right? Wait, 5.3, right? Yeah, 5.34. You have to weigh off a higher pH, maybe 5.7. You have to drain your curd at 5.7, because remember that the acidity will carry on increasing, and the next day you will have this value 5.3. So you have to drain your whey at a higher pH. Okay. Now you were lucky because I had the information here in my notes. Okay. I went to pay. Car powder, are you have? Yes, I have them. I reckon I have on my website. I don't. Let me check it up. Let me check it up. Okay. And you can write me through Messenger, and I will sort it out. No problem. Okay, let me go. We have 7 minutes left, and I still have a lot of questions. Okay, let me go. I wanted to make 3 gallons of milk. If I wanted to make a 3 gallon of milk batch of cheese, but I only have 8/4 pot to use, can I cut the recipe in half, make one half, then the second, and then press the curd together at the same time? Or will the time between batches getting the curd pressing point make too much of a difference? Look, the way to do it, if you have a small pot to make cheese, let's say, if you want to make, let's say, 2 kilos. 2 kilos is approximately 18 liters of milk. Sorry, 16 liters of milk. 8 liters per kilo, okay? But you only have 1 pot of 8 liters. What you can do is put the milk in several pots, and you have to heat them up all at the same time. Okay, you have to, and ripen the milk with the same amount of bacteria, and make the cheese. Coagulate the milk, and once it's coagulated, wait for an hour, and then cut the 3 or 4 pots, whatever the pot you have. Once you have after getting the right acidity, What you have to do is drain everything and take the curd and put it. You can put it in one pot. You can mix all the curd together. Doesn't matter. Mix them. Of course, you don't have more way because the 80% of the milk, 80% of the milk is whey. So you dump the whey and get the curd and put it in one pot and carry on with your process. This is what you can do. And this is what I do. For example, I prepare 60 liters of milk when I make cheese. I have my vat, which is 30 liters, but I have 2 pans of 15 liters each. So what I do, if I'm going to make queso fresco, for example, which I make a lot of queso fresco because of the Spanish colony here in New Zealand. So I make queso fresco, and I make 30 liters in one vat, 15 liters in one pot, and 15 liters in the third pot. So I coagulate the milk according to the volume. Of course, you have to consider the volume of milk that you have into your pot and put the amount of rennet that you need to use. Okay, according to the manufacturer specification. So you have to coagulate the milk, cut the curd, drain the whey until you get the pH target. Once you got your pH target, drain all the way and put it. What I do is I put it into the big vat of 30 liters one, and from them I start salting, stirring the salt, whatever, and molding everything. This is how I do the process, because I don't have a big pot of 60 liters. I only have one vat of 30 liters. So this is the way to do it. You have to work linearly. Okay, if your recipe is for 8 liters and you're going to make 20 liters, you have to make the numbers. Okay, but the numbers are linear. Okay, I hope I have answered your question. I went to pay calcium powder. Do you have? I don't know if I have calcium chloride powder. Let me check up, and I will contact you. Okay, or write me through Messenger, Manal. Okay. Okay, let's carry on with the other one. How much rennet powder do I add to 4 liters of milk? As I said, it will depend on the strength of the rennet. If your rennet is strong, you have to add one amount. What amount do you have to add? I would suggest read the manufacturer's specifications. The supplier will tell you how many milliliters per liter you will have to use. For example, in my case, I use vegetable rennet and animal rennet. When I use vegetable rennet, I use a brand called Renko. This brand they suggest to use 0.7 milliliters per liter of milk, which means that if I'm making 10 liters of milk to make cheese, I will have to put 7 milliliters. But I have another supplier, which is he sells me animal rennet, and he advises to use 0.0175 grams, because it's powder, of rennet per liter of milk. So if I am making 10 liters of milk, I have to use 0.17 grams of rennet per 10 liters. So we have to make the numbers. But each supplier is different. It depends on the concentration of the rennet and the strength of the rennet. Okay, so my advice, follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Of course, this manufacturer won't give you just a spot number, a small number. They're going to give you a range. You can work in the lower range or in the upper range. But what you need to remember is that if you use too much rennet, your cheese will cheese might get a little bit bitter, and because the rennet is also proteolytic, so it will change the texture of the cheese faster, and so you have to be careful. Okay, but this is a learning curve that you have to achieve. Once you have your rennet calibrated, you will. I always use the same amount because now I have, in my case, my rennet. I have realized that using this amount of rennet, my cheese tastes okay. So, but each rennet is different, so you have to calibrate yours. Okay. Another one. We have 4 more. The fermented serum or whey can be taken by people with diabetes and hypertension. Well, look, whey have 85% of lactose, and lactose is a sugar. If you have diabetes, maybe the lactose will be hazardous for you. So I'm not a doctor, but I would suggest find a doctor's advice, and he will be able to answer this question. What I know about a little bit of biochemistry, lactose is a sugar, and sugar will be hazard for you because you're diabetes. And if you have hypertension, in the whey we have a small amount of fat, which will not affect you much. So maybe if you have hypertension, it won't affect the whey. If you use the whey, it won't affect you. But if you have diabetes, it might affect you. So my advice: go to the doctor and ask him. He will be able to tell you better than me. Dear doctor, I can't find calcium chloride. Can I substitute for calcium? And how much should I use? Remember, calcium, to make cheese, the salt that is allowed to use is calcium chloride. Okay, this is the one that I know. If you find calcium, you have to find the concentration of the calcium, and it has to be food graded. Make sure your calcium, if you are finding calcium, make sure that the calcium is food graded, and the concentration of this calcium has to be 99.9%. Okay, so the idea is that, or 100%, but it's very hard to find a calcium 100% purity. So your calcium should be, they come in general 99.9% purity. If your calcium is not food graded, do not use it, because you're going to have problems. And generally, these calciums, they come with 15-20% impurity, and this 15-20% impurity might be hazard for your health. So make sure you use, if you're going to use calcium, it has to be food graded. My advice: don't invent the wheel and use calcium chloride, because sometimes there are companies that are selling calcium, but this is for pools and stuff. So don't use this type of calcium because it's not food graded. Okay. And number 9, hello from Brazil. How to make yogurt with fresh milk? To make yogurt from fresh milk is very easy. Look, I have a recipe. I have a video in my channel, how to make yogurt. I just released it maybe 2 weeks ago. There is a way I teach you all the steps how to make yogurt. But roughly, just grab the milk, can be homogenized, and put the bacteria inside the milk. If you're using mesophilic culture, just spread it into the milk. 1 pinch would be all right for 2 liters. 1 pinch of lactic bacteria. Heat them up at 25 degrees, and keep after 5 minutes, mix the culture into the milk so it can be dissolved and spread it, and let the milk ripen for 12 hours. After 12 hours, you're going to get a hell, which is going to be your yogurt. And it's very easy. Okay. And let's see. And last one. Can you make mozzarella with fresh milk from the cow, but boiled? Well, you can make mozzarella using raw milk. You say in fresh milk. I understand that fresh milk is raw milk. You can use raw milk, but if you boil the milk, you will denature all the molecules of proteins. So do not boil it, just pasteurize it. How do you pasteurize? Go to my channel. There is a video how to pasteurize milk, and you're going to be able to do it. Anyway, I'm going to give you a tip. You can heat the milk, not boil it. You can heat it at 63 degrees for half an hour. After half an hour, put the milk in ice water. Okay. Of course, don't put the ice water inside the milk. Only on the outside, so the milk can get cooled down really fast. And you have to stir. You have to take the milk from 63 degrees to 30 degrees in max half an hour. So the way to do it is put it into your sink with ice water on the outside, and stir the milk on the inside with a spoon, with a sanitized spoon. Stir it until you get them. And with your thermometer, you have to monitor the temperature until you reach 30, 35 degrees, the temperature of your recipe, and then carry on with your process. To make mozzarella, you have to control the acidity. So there is a video in my channel, how to make mozzarella, and you can make it in several ways. You can make it using lactic cultures, or you can make it using citric acid. In both ways, you're gonna get a good mozzarella. Okay, that's all. If we don't have any more questions, that's it. Okay, as I said, next week we're going to talk about the wash curd cheeses, and that's it. I'll see you next week. And as I always said, remember, if you want to support the channel and be a member of the community, and you want to be part of the coaching program, okay? And I don't know if I said it this morning, but I already developed. I'm working in Module 1, which is going to be this coaching program. And if you belong to this program, you will be able to learn how to make cheeses. And there's going to be 7 modules. In these modules, you're going to be able to make cheese professionally, and you will know what happened to the cheese. And the idea is not to learn how to make cheese, because you can learn reading books and stuff. The idea is to be part of this community that I'm going to build with all the members. And if you have any problem, we're going to support you. We're going to give you advice, and if we have to give you some information, we'll give it to you. So and the program never ends. You will be able to get access to this information all the time, because it's going to be a perpetual program. As long as you become part of the community, you pay once and you carry on being part of the community. Of course, if you need a special assistance and by belonging with this, in this program, you will have the right to have X amount of coaching, person-to-person coaching hours. And once you get your coaching hours and you need more, well, in this case, of course, you have to pay for the coaching hours. But meanwhile, if you are learning, I reckon it's going to be 8 coaching hours or something like that. You will be able to, and we're going to make 10, 12 cheeses, and these hours are for that. And well, the idea is that you learn how to make the cheeses, and if you have any problem in the future, the community will support you. Okay. Okay. That's all. And see you next week. And as I always say, eat cheese because life without cheese is like a love without a kiss. See you next week. Let me finish here.